So, hello everyone, this is Santeri Liukkonen from Simulate. I am the original developer of the app, and I wanted to give you a quick walkthrough through the application. So, after you've installed this extension, you can find it in the extensions menu under name Simulate, and you can open it here. When you open this application, it will open a sidebar on the right side of the screen, and here you will see that you can create input assumptions and forecast outputs. And here I have just a super simple calculation here on my sheet. And let's assume that I want to simulate and see what kind of outcomes I can get by defining some input parameters. So let's get going. In order to create an input, I can just press this create button here. And after that, I can select the cell that I want to simulate. So in this case, I would like to see what is the profit outcome if I have a revenue with a uniform distribution. Just by the way, there's also triangular and normal distributions available, with more distributions coming later. But let's define a uniform distribution between 10 and 30. And by pressing accept, we can accept that input with the cell reference C3 because it's currently highlighted here. And here you have a note also on the cell that this input variable is used for simulation. Let's also define the cost structure that we expect to have. So let's say our costs have typically been around $10. Ideally, you would know this exactly, with a standard deviation of 2. Let's put it this way. And then we accept that variable with a cell reference C4. And that's it. We have 2 uncertain variables here defined on the sidebar now. You can also delete them, reset, and create new ones easily here. And let's say the quantity doesn't change. And here I have a sample formula where I subtract the costs from revenue and multiply it by quantity. And then as an outcome of this formula, the profitability, in this case, because the costs are higher than the actual revenue, it's a negative. That is a bad situation here. So let's see now with our new defined values how it's going to actually behave and see some insights there. But of course, in order to start simulating, you have to create one output, and that must be a formula cell. So here you can highlight that one. Let me just show you how it kind of gets the reference here. So now it's H15 because we're in H15. Then after a short while, it updates to E10. And in this case, we want the C6, which is our profit. And we can define the name here as profit. So we can keep a reference. We add it here. And let's see, as soon as it checks that the formula is valid, there's also an output note created here. And after that, we can define some settings, and currently they're fairly limited in this first version, but correlations and other functionalities coming in the future, if there's enough user demand for that. And let's choose just 100 simulation runs, 100 scenarios, which is quite fast in this case. And so now the start simulation button is available for us. So we will press that. And here's a note that currently there is no way to stop that or pause the simulation while it's running. So here you can see that the numbers are running now with different values that we've defined. Those are being picked up by Simulate. So the simulation is running here. And what happens here, meanwhile, is that there's a hidden sheet created by the Simulate application, which is kind of storing all of those scenarios for later analysis, where you can also export this data into some other software if you need to. So here we are running the full spectrum of possible outcomes with 100 runs, which is relatively fast compared to 10 times slower 1000 runs. So that's running in the background, and I believe it ran now. And here it presents some outcomes. So the value range is actually minus 186 in the worst case and up to $2,213 in that case, and with a mean of 922, so that looks quite good. Here, by pressing this button, we can go to the full output, or we can just select here the hidden simulation sheet, which was created by Simulate. Either way, you can, let's just press this, go to full output. And what is presented here is those two inputs. And what was the number sampled for that input for that scenario run, and that related profit, which is the kind of variable or the outcome that we're interested to observe with various inputs. And so each row is one simulation outcome, one scenario. And here an example outcome chart is shown to you here, that this is the profit histogram, like for profit variable or whichever you decided. But you can just use the basic figure tools here to draw any kind of histograms you want to. And if you have any feedback or want to give want to know more or need any support, you can contact me here with this address available here with the automatic note. If you want to run more simulation runs, you can simply rename this sheet, for example, run 1, and then resimulate. And the system will create a new hidden sheet here where it will rerun the simulation. So currently the simulation is running. If we go to the first tab, we can still see that the simulation kind of is sampling right now. We can meanwhile observe some data here. And basically for 100 runs, there's just 100 different scenarios created. You can just take these cells, copy paste them into other software, or export this whole sheet. You can delete stuff here freely. What I don't recommend you to do is to delete that sheet when it's kind of still simulating, because it's empty while the simulation is running. And then at the end, when the simulation is finished, it's printed out here like this again. So here we have a second run. So that's how easy it is to use Simulate. Here you have a whole sampling of scenarios, and in the future I'm planning to include more different viewing options and improved histograms, which will show the chance of profitability and some kind of additional sensitivity analysis with ability to correlate different input variables, which is like a pretty commonly demanded feature in this kind of software. So I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough. It's pretty simple to use. I guess we can just, in this case, reset all of our settings, close it out, and all of these kind of notes here should be also cleared by now. So again, we can start creating some kind of new inputs or outputs for our own models, simulating different outcomes this way, and gaining a better understanding of the uncertainty and the risks involved. In this case, this was a financial calculation. Maybe you will find some other use case. Let me know if you came up with some nice use case or would like to explore or discuss this more with me. And I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback. Enjoy the tool.